Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up with special guests here. Drove all the way over from St. Joe just to be on our show. So we're going to get started with our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. High today all the way up to 83 and low 68. Now, our water temperature is right even 80 degrees out on the buoy out there right outside the pass. Our river reading brought to us by Mountain Dew. Take it outside with Mountain Dew. The river's starting to fall a little bit. It got a little bit higher than we had anticipated, but it's falling a little bit. The Apalachicola at Bluntstown is 10 foot, and early part of the week we said it's going to be down about 6 or 7, hopefully, but it went the other way. But anyway, it is what it is, and we just deal with it when you go fishing. The Choctaw at Caryville, 7.6. Both of them are dropping out some. It'll be a little steady drop, but the water's going to be high on the big river. The tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. We're wrapping up our neap tides today and tomorrow. And Saturday's tide is going to be pretty good. We got a falling tide pretty strong, but today and tomorrow be pretty slack. High tide is going to be around 8:28, and then low will be 5:10 this afternoon. And our marine forecast, southeast about 10. Be pretty decent out there. Let's take a break. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to our guest. It was good to see Captain Mark Housey.
Hey, good to be here today.
Listen, you had to get up early and get on over here, and construction and everything between here and St. Joe is still busy.
Yeah, it's we're rebuilding, and every day the town and Mexico Beach and St. Joe Beach is looking a little better. We're going to make a trip to Lowe's after here and pick up some more supplies. I think we're probably about 2.5 weeks away from getting back into our house.
Awesome.
So we're making progress.
That's good to hear. Mark, we always talk about, getting to know our guests and all. Let's go back. Let's give people a background on where you're from and how you ended up being a fishing guide in St. Joe Bay.
My grandparents are all from Apalachicola, and so my mom and dad went to high school there. I grew up in South Alabama, a little town called Opp, home of the Rattlesnake Rodeo.
That's right.
And got out of college, went to Central Florida, and worked down there for about 23 years, and just got tired of being in a big city and, wanted to come back and small town life, and it was kind of between Apalachicola and Port St. Joe. And I had an uncle that had taught RTC at St. Joe High School, and so just talking to him, I wanted to get back where I was a town that, liked its high school sports and stuff like that, and so it, came up and vacationed there a few times and just love fishing on the bay. And so to me it was a perfect fit. And when I came up here, I originally got my captain's license to run a few trips, but so I could write off my fishing habit.
Good idea.
And so just started doing it, and a little bit here and there and building the business, and I just really like it. Every day is somebody new, and I have made a bunch of friends. This is going into the 15th year now, and 2 years ago I had 3 different weddings I had to go to that kids I watched grow up, and and it was like, well, no, Captain Mark has to come,
Oh, that's cool.
And so that adds.
You get an attachment with these people, and you really do.
And you see some folks every year. You see some folks every other year. They go to the beach one year, go to the mountains, or take a trip someplace else, another year. And so it makes it kind of fun, and it's always changing. We go along over there, and we'll be for a couple weeks. We've got all the fish dialed in, and then we'll all come in one morning, bringing our parties back in and say, okay, what happened? And it takes a day or two to figure out what they did, and go back home. But we have an incredible fishery over there, and it's St. Joe Bay you can catch big gator trout, you got redfish, you got flounder. You can go catch a world-class tarpon over there in the summer months. You're 5 miles offshore, and you can go catch a snapper and grouper, and you still see land. And so, you know, it's just a unique area to go fish.
And the state record pompano called in St. Joe Bay.
Yep.
And so pompano's in there too, and it is a unique area. I think what makes it unique too is there's not a lot of flow coming into it. It's like a pristine area. And what's fascinating about what you've done, you sort of grew up in the area, but you've really learned how to fish it in the last 15 years, you know.
Yeah.
And it's always encouraging for people to come in from out of town and move here and all. You can learn to fish a place.
Well, you know, it's really funny. A lot of our clients are out of the Southeast, and you know, most of these guys are bass fishermen, and they call up like, what, you know, want to go fishing, want to learn how to fish a little bit of salt water. All I've done was bass fish, and I really, you know, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, it's not much different. It's just your structure has changed into what you're fishing, because, you know, you're looking at a stump, a log, you know, a little dip. Well, we've got a pothole, we've got a channel edge, you know, grass beds and stuff like that. Those are your structures, you know, or a pier or a dock. There's not a lot of those on St. Joe Bay, but it's just doing those, and you gotta learn the tides. That's probably been my biggest challenge, is, you know, because it's funny to me that St. Joe Bay is a 2-tide bay, but you go to Apalachicola Bay and fish Indian Pass, it's a 4-tide bay. They're 10 minutes apart.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, why we got 4 tides?
I can't explain that, but I always wondered that myself. How does that happen?
And you know, sometimes if you look at it, when St. Joe Bay's rising, Apalachicola Bay's falling. That makes no sense to me, but I've just learned to quit trying to figure it out and just accept it and just go on.
That sounds good. We're going to take a break. Be right back with Captain Mark. Okay, welcome back, Captain Mark Halsey from St. Joe, Forgotten Coast Adventures. And you mentioned tide. Just go and talk while we're on this subject real quick. With your clients, you like to go falling tide, rising tide, or?
You know, to me, it really doesn't matter as long as that water's moving. I tell people, if it's dead high or dead low, stay home. And you know, as long as we've got some moving water, you know, fish will bite on that. In St. Joe Bay now, Apalachicola Bay, I like about the last 2 hours of the rising tide over there on those oyster bars. But again, they will bite on a falling tide. It's just a matter of, you know, figuring out where you've got current and stuff like that. St. Joe Bay is kind of easy, because if you're out there on the grass beds, you can see that grass laid over one way or the other. You know you've got current and stuff like that. Fishing has been really good in St. Joe Bay the last week. The trout and the redfish are on fire.
That's cool.
So,
okay,
you know,
we're going to come back to get that fishing report toward the end. I want to go and get this in now while we have time, because you've been instrumental in getting something going that's going to be really a phenomenal. I don't think it's ever been done in this area. The releasing the redfish. I've got a little sign right here. 2 weeks from Wednesday, yesterday, redfish release in Port St. Joe. This is a big deal.
Yes.
Tell us about this.
Well, I'm a member of CCA Florida, and I'm the vice president of the Forgotten Coast chapter of CCA Florida. We have probably about 175 members, and CCA Florida has partnered with Duke Energy down at their Crystal River plant, and we're raising redfish. And so one of the things that has gone on the first part of the year down in Southwest Florida, where they have got hit so hard with the algae and the red tides and stuff, they've been going down to different parts every week and releasing 5,000 to 10,000 redfish, fingerlings, and some larger fish into those areas. And you know, St. Joe Bay got hit a few years ago really hard, and you know, every year all along this Panhandle, we're we're getting hit just a little bit, you know, with red tide. And so I got a call a couple weeks ago from some of the folks down at the state headquarters for CCA and said, you know, we want to come up to your area and do a redfish release. And so I'm like, yes,
sir.
Come on. And so, you know, we don't know the exact numbers. It's going to be between 5,000 and 10,000 fingerlings. We're going to do it 29th. It's going to start around 11 o'clock Eastern time. And there'll be a few speeches and, you know, that kind of stuff. And then we will take and right there at Frank Pate Park in downtown and if you want to, you can grab a tube that'll have some fish, walk out, release them out, and put them in the bay. And that's huge for us.
Yes.
It's, you know, we're trying to, you know, recover this bay and, you know, help the fisheries and stuff like that. And so this is huge for our area. And, you know, hopefully as we expand this program that, you know, we can do other parts of the Panhandle and stuff like that. Guys, as you're listening, there's chapters of CCA in Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach, South Walston, Panama City, Tallahassee, the, you know, Forgotten Coast, Port St. Joe, Apalachicola area. Get involved.
That's right.
And, you know, you don't have to be involved to the extent I am. I put a lot of hours in with this, but it's just a passion of mine. I want to see a future for our fisheries, for, you know, kids to come and things like that. But there's a banquet every year. Each chapter puts on. It's similar to a Ducks Unlimited or Quail Unlimited or, you know, Wild Turkey Federation. And you just go and have a good time. Spend a little money. All the money raised in Florida stays in Florida for projects for restoration and habitat. So, you know, it's just a good thing.
That's a good deal. So this redfish release, how big are these fingerlings, do you think?
5 to 6 inches.
Okay.
You know, somewhere in that range. Down at the Crystal River nuclear plant, you know, that plant has been decommissioned, but they had all these cooling ponds. And Duke Energy, several years ago, with that plant, they had to do some mitigation, okay? And so they started a hatchery program to start releasing. Duke has become partners with CCA.
Awesome.
And they're using those ponds, and, you know, we've probably, I'd say, 70,000, 80,000 redfish have been released, you know, throughout the state this year, and it's a great program. Duke is, you know, doing this on their own dime.
Oh, that's great.
And, you know, so that's, you know, you can't express enough it's kind of like a public-private partnership.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're doing it, and there is talk, and I'm not trying to put anything out there, that they really want to expand this program. There's also a new hatchery the state is building in Pensacola. And so in another year or so, it should come online, and so that'll, you know, help some of this Panhandle region and stuff like that.
That's great news right there. That sounds like another field trip for Panhandle Outdoors to go to these hatcheries and all.
Well, I think we'll go. I tell you, I'm going to go down probably this fall when things slow down on the chartering side and go down to Crystal River and take a tour of that area and stuff like that. I didn't get to go this past spring, but the ponds where the redfish are, they took everybody that was visiting that day. They were just taking chunk mullet out there and tossing out and hooking up with, you know, circle hooks and stuff like that. So we wouldn't hurt the fish. And they said it was just as fast as it hit the water. And, you know, there's some 36, 40-inch fish in those ponds, you know, that they're using for breeding. So
that's exciting. All right, we're going to come back now after our break. We're going to give some fishing tips, and we're going to talk about different times of year to fish and all kinds of things with Captain Mark. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us this morning. Don't forget, now tomorrow we'll be giving away some seafood and all kind of exciting things. But today we've got an expert here on catching fish in St. Joe Bay, so we're going to take advantage of the time and get some good information from him. Let's look at our fishing game time today. First, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. You know that area well.
Oh, yes.
Blue Water.
They do a great job for us.
They really do. All right, our times today, 10:53 to 12:53, middle of the day, and tonight, 11:19 and 1:19. So we've got your picture up here, Forgotten Coast Adventures, and there's your phone number. And I looked at you. You got rated a 5 out of 5. That's pretty strong. Charter fishing, scalloping, boating trips, Mexico Beach, Cape San Blas, and it just goes on. So y'all visit a website right there, Forgotten Coast Adventures. Okay, nice. That looks good up there. All right, so let's go. I don't know where to start. We've got so much to talk about. Let's go to redfish and trout. Okay. That's sort of your specialty. So tell us some.
That's your most common species, for St. Joe Bay. Soft plastic grubs, I'm a real big fan of the Z-Man lures. Okay. They're impregnated with scent. They've got really a variety of jig heads. You can go, if you're fishing a deeper channel, you got, some heavier and some real light jig heads to deal with that grass. And they're very durable. Okay. So I personally like those. Around the sandy areas, the potholes with those, work them slow. If you think you're working it slow, slow down just a little bit. The flounder bite is also pretty good off of those. Electric chicken is a color that, you hear it everywhere. I don't know who came up with that, but then early in the morning on the grass, flats, top water, I'm real partial to the MirrOlure she-dogs. Okay. I'm not a real big fan of all different colors. Our bait fish over there are alewives, finger mullet, and pinfish. So, pick a lure that looks kind of like those. Now, folks, when you're fishing top water, everybody tends to watch that lure because you want to see that explosion. When you see that explosion, just take a 1, 2, 3 count. Wait till you feel that fish before you try to set that hook. A lot of people
pull it out of his mouth.
Pull it right out from under them. Another thing that I noticed on your fish and game forecast, you're talking about the bite was, I think, around 11 o'clock. At night. St. Joe Bay, I have done this a few times myself, and on a full moon in St. Joe Bay in the middle of the night, go out there on those grass flats and throw top water. And because that bay is so clear, those fish are feeding off that moonlight, and you can't see your lure, but you can hear those explosions, and you will miss more fish than you catch. But it's just so much fun if you're out there with a friend and you're hearing, and it's just a blast. The other thing too is I take a lot of families, mom and dad and 2 kids, and folks, when you take your kids fishing, remember about 2 hours is their attention span.
Right.
Plan that trip, go fish for a couple hours, run out to the point, up on the beach, get them off, let them go play a little bit, let them go swim, go right around, look for some dolphins.
Good idea.
And, give them a little something else to do. You can always take mom and the kids up to the beach and drop them off and let them pick up some shells.
They'll be happy up there.
And you can fish right out there in front of you, especially right now, because while they're looking for seashells, you can cruise up and down that trough on the beach and catch pompano.
Okay, good, great points on kids' attention and all. Real quick, how did Hurricane Michael, did it affect any of the potholes, anything like that, or the bay?
The potholes are, in great shape. Some of them have some trash in them. Okay. And that's a good and bad thing, depending on what the trash is. The biggest thing that affected St. Joe Bay, it blew open a section of the state park, and all of us over there that fish really want that thing to stay open. But the State Park Service and DEP has determined that they're going to fill that in. The water quality has been the best it's been in the last 5 years coming into the spring. That water is so clear, so clean, even with the amount of rain. And you said the Apalachicola River is up. We get runoff from the Apalachicola via the St. Joe Gulf County Canal, and that fresh water has a negative impact on our bay.
Yeah.
And where Apalachicola needs more of it, we need less of it. And so that part of it, we were really hoping they would just leave that alone and let it stay, let Mother Nature take its course, but they're not going to.
Well,
and I'm going to mention a little something else as we're segueing into a little segue. There's a group in Port St. Joe called Bay Savers. And we're going to come over and give a presentation, but we're looking to maybe try to get a lock put on either on the canal or on the intercoastal between White City and Lake Wimico, and to try to stop some of that flow coming our way and put more water going back to Apalachicola there, and stop the saltwater intrusion coming into the freshwater system. Wimico now at certain times of year is just like a salt marsh. You can go up there in the fall and catch as many redfish in Wimico as you can bass and bluegill.
Yeah. Well, I want you to, we're going to run out of time, but y'all going to come back. We're going to talk about that in detail. That's an interesting concept and all kinds of things going on. So we got your number on the screen if they want to get a hold of you for any kind of fishing trip and all. And I appreciate you getting up this early.
It's a pleasure, and thanks for having us.
And we're going to see that redfish release in about 2 weeks. We'll get out there and look at those baby redfish.
And it's just, conservation happening in the Panhandle, and we're giving back something to the resource. There we go.
There you go. Thank you all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. We always appreciate the viewership. Do something good today for your fellow man, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.